Welcome, everybody. Hello. This is another episode of Coffee with Campus Consultancy. Today, we're talking about how do you find your voice on social media. We've got 6 amazing guests today, all students or recent graduates, talking about not just in theory what social media is, but how they used it. We're going to be talking about the habits to make sure you make the most of social media, but it doesn't take over your entire life. We're going to be talking about launching podcasts. We're going to be talking about building teams and how you can create content, even if you're not sure what to create. So to kick off the conversation today, I'm going to welcome on our first guest, Sharan. Hey, Sharan, how are you doing?
Hi, guys. Hi, Josh.
How are you, mate?
Good. I'm really good. Excited for today. And how are you?
Very good. Very excited. Now, for those of you who aren't familiar with Sharan, Sharan's an ambassador for the Mental Health Foundation, a TEDx speaker, and has helped to create a community project called Samana for Sri Lanka. He currently works as a marketing specialist in EdTech. So who better to kick off a conversation around content and social media? Sharan, to start with for today, and hugely appreciative of your time, I'd love to just set the groundwork a little bit for people. If you are listening, you are tuning in, you're in the comments, say hello, ask your questions. But if people are wondering, I'm a student, I've got a lot of study to do. I've got a lot of assignments. I've got to get a job. Why should I be on social media? How could that help me in any way whatsoever? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, firstly, thank you so much for the introduction. Very kind of you. Happy to be here. I guess when it comes to being a student or even a recent graduate, when it comes to social media, it is the most pivotal touch point to help you achieve what you want to achieve in your life. And Josh obviously talks a lot about Ikigai. And if you really narrow down what your why is, you can easily create new avenues through social media. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a personality. You can even create a project out of it. So it'll help you achieve where you want to go in a nutshell.
I love that, Sharan. One of a previous guests, Mita, who's a head of careers up at Charles Darwin Uni, came on and talked about Ikigai recently, looking at before you figure out what you can get paid to do, what you're good at, what you love, and what the world needs. So if you were to pick a platform, whether it's Instagram or LinkedIn or YouTube, whatever it happens to be, if you figure out what you're good at, what you love, or what the world needs, how do you put that out there?
Yeah, great question. I guess I'll take an example just to make the explanation easier. Just say you are passionate about travel, right? You can easily convert your amazing passion for travel into any platform, right? So, for example, if you look at Instagram, you can create very picturesque pictures. You can create reels now. You can create videos and put those content out there. You can obviously repurpose that content onto a blog because all of us know people still read blogs. It still crawls up on Google, and it helps you achieve what you want to do. So I would really say that depending on what your why is and what you want to get paid for, the passion you want to get paid for, choose your channel accordingly. And the biggest tip that I would say is you can make any channel work, really, but some channels work better just because of the audience you want to appeal to, right? What do you want them to do with your content, right? Do you want them to just smile and look at it and just keep scrolling? Or do you want them to look at it and be like, wow, I want to go here, but what are the tools I need? What are the purchases I need to make before doing this travel? Where do I need to go? Where can I hire a car? That's all insight that you have that you can make in a very digestible manner in a blog, right? And the blog can lead to a travel with Josh for 2021, and you can plan a whole travel organization around it. So there's so many avenues that you can break out of social media. But the thing is, I really want to say a disclaimer: it is not easy. You can't just blow up, because we all know that social media has become very pay to play. But you can still make it with a lot of creativity and a lot of collaboration, and really narrowing down where you want to improve.
Love it. And Sharan, for an example for you, as you said, like not just in theory, but the reality of it, you've had a lot of success with social media. It's opened a lot of different doors for you, personal and professional. If you feel comfortable, I'd love to know how has it been a positive for you, and what is necessary to make sure it doesn't become life-consuming at the same time?
Yeah. Oh, great question. I think positive is the number of people I've gotten to meet, right? I met Josh literally through LinkedIn, right? To see the events that's happening, and I met him through that, right? So I've just met so many incredible people that have helped me in some way right? You can't always determine help by the magnitude of it. Even small help goes a long way. So I think just the number of people I've met is one of the positives. There are a lot of negatives to social media. I actually deactivated my Instagram a couple of months ago, and it's been the best decision I've made in a long time, where I've just focused on myself and I'm a lot happier. And Josh knows this, where I was always debating on world's problems and how I can't cure it overnight. And I would say that when it comes to social media, just finding the right amount of discipline so that you can get your work done, have a little bit of scrolling time if you just do want to pay attention to what's going on in the world or other people's lives. But discipline is the highest thing. And to be honest, I didn't have it when it comes to Instagram discipline. And that's why I deactivated it. But I do believe that everyone who is more in tune with what's going on, I think discipline is so important, because there's so many positives to social media that I would preach till the day I die. It's just a matter of how we can discipline ourselves to use it to the best of our time and ability.
Yeah, I love that. Really cool. Sharan, if there was something practically, if someone was out there and saying, all right, like I want to give this social media thing a go, and specifically, like I want to figure out how this can help me get a job. I want to put my perspective out there, my thoughts, my views. If you're a student looking for a job, is there a particular way that people can start, a platform, a piece of content, or even a mindset that they can go into it with?
Mindset, man, for sure. Mindset. I would say your first post is probably going to be horrible, right? And you probably won't even get a like on it, right? But the thing is, consistency is key, and by practicing, you will perfect the craft, right? You will not be the best potterer or pottery master if you just start pottery today and then expect to be the best at it. It's the same thing with social media. How to write copy or captions, how to edit pictures, how to use Canva, how to use Photoshop, how to edit a video. I don't know how to edit a video to save my life, but that doesn't mean I can't do it if I put the work in. So I would say mindset. I would say just try. Follow people that are related to the passion that you want to pursue in the future. And Josh talks about it all the time. You should check out his workshops on LinkedIn and personal branding. It literally, you can follow all the people that are relevant to you and get an idea on how to do it. And then it's just about practice, connecting to the right people. And it won't happen overnight. You just have to do it. But the thing is, don't make it seem like work, right? Just think about it like this. The same time that you would spend scrolling on Instagram or making a purchase, just dedicate 2 to 5 minutes of that time to just write a post, right? Write the caption. If you're really not confident to make the post, send it to someone who's good with copywriting, or send it to Josh, or send it to someone who's like mentoring you or helping you, so that you can look at it and you can make the post better. So if you need that boost of confidence, if you don't, and if you're okay to trial and error it, keep trial and erroring, because at the end of the day, you can't always ask someone to check your work. You need to be confident, and you need to build your personal brand around who you are. You can't always have a manager over you saying, maybe don't post this or whatever. So there is trial and error involved either way.
I love it. I love that really open approach. And one of the big takeaways I'll take from what you just said is that idea of, if you're going to spend time on there scrolling anyway, rather than just being a consumer, being a producer, taking that time and saying, I'm going to put something out to the world and be part of the convo. Sharan, I want to be really respectful of your time, but I'm hugely appreciative of everything you've shared. I've got a quick fill in the blank for you. And for someone who puts out so much good into the world, who shares very openly their journey and has just helped inspire so many people, how would you answer this, or sort of finish this sentence? The power of positivity is what?
I would say I would flip this on its head, and this I've been doing a lot of thinking. I think we are inspired by people based on what they're able to do that we believe that we are not able to do. I believe that you can inspire anyone based on what you want to become, right? It's just the work, right? It's just easier for us to be inspired rather than actually getting up and doing something. So I would say the power of positivity is believing in yourself and your capabilities, and your colleague can be the inspiration that you looked up to someday, So it's a matter of just literally believing in yourself. And I know it all sounds cheesy, but trust me, with everything that's going on in the world, I think we need a bit of cheesy. But I really think that in order to be positive or spread positivity, you need to trust yourself. If you don't trust yourself, or if you're not sure of your own capabilities, don't do it. And I would say that in order to find out what your capabilities are and what makes you happy, stop everything that you're doing that makes you not happy. Easy.
I love that.
Josh knows I had a really nice following on social media, but beyond that, I was a trusted source. Beyond that, I was an advocate for mental health, but social media was not making me happy. In particular Instagram, which is why I deactivated it, right? Maybe I can come back on it someday. But that's all about self-realization and seeing what makes you happy. And at the end of the day, what's realistically paying your bills as well.
I love it. And I think that's something I really want to bring in today, that balance of there are some positives to social media, but anyone out there who's seen the social dilemma know there are some costs as well. So like anything in life, how do you get the positives and mitigate the expenses and costs? Sharan, You're a rock star. Great chatting with you. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. Good luck to everyone.
Thanks, mate. Speak soon. There we go. 1 guest down, 5 to go. Today on Coffee with Campus Consultancy, we're talking about how do you find your voice on social media? How do you get the good stuff? And how do you build healthy habits around it? So to move on, our second guest for today, I want to introduce everyone to Christine. Hey, Christine.
Hello. How are you going?
Very good. You have a very calming, welcoming voice there. I appreciate it. Of course. Christine, if people aren't familiar with you, you co-lead a pharmaceutical podcast, Dose of Pharma. As a current research student, you have a huge passion for sharing your knowledge. You post a lot about social development and sharing skills on LinkedIn. A huge thanks for coming on today.
Yeah, thank you so much. I've already learnt so much just from listening to Sharan, so hopefully I can share my knowledge as well.
No doubt. And one of the first things that I actually wanted to ask you about, someone's asked in the comments, Jag said, how do I get my posts on LinkedIn properly noticed by people who don't know me? And I think this is something, and thanks for the question, Jag, and if anyone has questions, pop them in the chat. I think this is something that comes up a lot. There's so much, quote unquote, noise out there. How do you stand out, or how do you find your place to stand out?
Yeah, so I guess touching a bit as well on what Sharan said, finding, making sure you're posting what you want to post and showing your personality through your posts. Because if you are copying other people's posts, then people will just scroll past because they've already seen that or they've seen something similar. So really standing out, and as well, I guess, finding things that helps you stand out. So sometimes people will find images, they'll connect with images a bit better, or videos. So finding what works for you as well. And I think one of the things that I've kind of done on my profile to stand out is doing, I guess, a series. So currently I've done 2 series, and if you have a series, then people will keep coming back to your profile and they know, oh, I can see this content in this series, especially if you do put a day to that series. And so then people will keep coming back to your profile.
And I'd love to hear a little bit more about that, Christine. Obviously, I've seen some of the series posts you shared. Would you feel comfortable sharing a little bit about what was the series you first came up with? What day do they come out? And then practically, how do you come up with that content? Do you sit down every Monday morning and write it? What do the mechanics look like?
Yeah, of course. So I think the first series that I did was called Unspoken, which is the people behind the jobs. So it was inspired by one of, I guess, campus consultancy monthly challenge, which was Korea. I think it was last year in July or August. And I guess I really pushed myself to see what type of content I could share that was different to everything else that I'd seen. So the base idea was that usually in interviews, people always ask, I guess, career experts and employers about their job. What do you do day to day? But I wanted to kind of highlight the person behind that job. So what do they do in their lunch? What do they do outside of work? What is the most challenging thing about their work? And so from there, I guess I built up a list of questions. And then I guess once I'd figured out the overall aim, I started looking at different guests and tried to, I guess, reach out to different people in different industries. And then from there, it was emailing or messaging a whole lot of people and then awaiting their responses. And there was only a small amount of people that got back, but even that small amount was really enough for my series.
And I think that's a good point. I just want to jump in and pause you on that one, because I know a lot of people struggle with, one, the reach out, like actually the mechanics of writing that template and email. But also, I think it's really important that people hear what you said around only a small percentage of people replied, but that was enough. So what did that look like in numbers? Did you reach out to 5 people, 10 people, 20 people? How many replied? What kind of percentage might people expect?
Yeah, it definitely, I guess, is a challenging aspect, but it will always happen during life. I think for my series, I reached out maybe to 30 or 40 people, and in total, I had 11 people on the series. So that's like 30%, a bit less than 30%. So not too many people, but as I did mention, it was enough to make an impact on my profile and connect with a whole lot of new people.
Mm. And what do you think when you were reaching out, like you're making this series, you're reaching out to people and they're answering your questions, were there any particular answers that surprised you or really resonated with you, or things that you looked at and you're like, oh, that's going to make great content, I need to share that?
Yeah. So definitely, like, the responses I got from everyone that was part of the series, they were, I guess, I encouraged them to answer 1 or 2, and a lot of people sent through like answering all the questions.
Oh,
so
wow.
It was really hard because I loved them all so much that I'd learned so much, and I had to cut them down. Off the top of my head, I can't remember, I guess, anything specific, but overall, seeing different insights into different industries, what people do, I guess, outside of outside of their work or during their lunch break and stuff, that it was really insightful. And as well,
Cool.
To my audience as well, I got a lot of comments that people's really had their eyes open through that, which was really awesome.
Awesome. Speaking of opening people's eyes to something, obviously within Pharma, you've now co-created and leading the Dose of Pharma podcast. It's great to jump on and have a chat with a couple of members of your team the other day. And I'm seeing some awesome content being shared. It's really topical, I think, to talk about this today, as Facebook just overnight has released a whole bunch of audio updates. So there's features in groups and in Messenger now that are audio only. So with Clubhouse on the rise and that whole audio world exploding, you're playing in the podcast space. So my question for you around this is, why podcasting, and what was it like to build a team around Dose of Pharma?
Yeah, that's awesome that Facebook has released some new updates. I'll definitely have to check them out. I think we went for a podcast, or for us it's kind of a vodcast, so it's video and podcast. So more so the podcast element, it allows people, me personally, I love listening to podcasts because I can usually multitask. I guess multitasking in a positive way though. So usually I will go for a walk and listen to a podcast. So I'm not needing to pay attention to going on a walk. So I can listen to that, or even when I'm catching the train to uni. So I think, especially since for our podcast, our target audience was students that are traveling, whether they're driving or catching the train, having that audio, I guess, version for students to listen to was really the idea behind it all. And I guess the whole logistics side of things, it has definitely been a roller coaster of a learning journey. Like each and every episode, we're learning new things, we're getting feedback and improving. But I think, as lots of people say, the most important thing is to start, just get going, release your first episode, and then from there, you just keep learning and keep improving, and get better and better.
Cool. I love it. Well, I think something that you share a lot about, and obviously we have in common, is this space of personal development, a real love for it. And I think we both really believe that it's important. So for today, and I'd love to finish on this one, a quick fill in the blank for you. What is the importance of personal development for someone who shares so much and invests so much time in it? Why do you think it's important?
Well, I've got, I guess, a quote that reflects this, that can fill in this blank really well, which is from Max Dupree, and it's, we cannot become what we want by remaining who we are. So if you want to become a different person, if you want to do X, Y, and Z in the future, you can't become that person if you're not going to, if you're going to stay the same person that you are. You need to go out and read, learn, watch things to become, I guess, the person that you do want to become.
I love it. Christine, I know you have a lot on. Thank you so much for your time today. Awesome chatting with you, and all the best on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Josh, for having me.
Thanks for coming on. There you have it, my friends. Talking about vodcasting. One of the things I love that Christine mentioned there was you've just got to start. So if you're tuning in today, you're thinking about how do I find my voice on social media? If you're thinking that, just start today. Start with this right now. Screenshot this, post it and share it. Tag the guest, tag Sharan, tag Christine, tag us, and say, hey, today I'm tuning into my LinkedIn Live. This is the top 1, 2, 3 of things I learned. And it might not be this. It doesn't have to be this. It could be a podcast that you listen to or a book you're reading. Grab the phone, take a selfie, put it out, and just share with the world what you're doing this Wednesday, 21st of April, 2021. Just start. I love it. As we continue with today, we're going to move on to our third guest and a very special guest, Vintii. Hi, Vintii.
Hey.
For
So
people who
excited
are,
to see you.
of course. Oh, it's great to see you. It's great to have you on. And for people who aren't familiar with you, I didn't mean to say Hi Vintii as a pun, but you're the founder of Hi Vintii, an initiative that's supporting international students all around Australia. You're a board member of the Postgraduate Council at UNSW and a placement coordinator at OutcomeLife. How in the heck of doing all that stuff do you have time to post on social media, Vintii? Tell the people.
All right. So that's actually a very good question you asked. I do it on the weekends.
Interesting.
So Saturday and Sunday, I compose posts for the rest of the week and put them on buffer and automate it. And that's how I'm keeping that hobby alive, besides all the other roles that I'm playing in my life.
I like it. So buffer, how do you spell buffer? If people are like, ooh, I'm interested in that.
It's BUFFER.
Yeah. .com?
Yes. It's free. I don't pay for it. It's free. And it's a very good tool. You can connect it to your LinkedIn, your Instagram, your Facebook, and it's very user-friendly as well.
Very cool. And just because I'm a sucker for the details on this, what time? Is it Saturday, Sunday? What time? How long does it take?
So yeah, initially it took me far longer to create one post, but I'm noticing as I'm practicing every week, and it's been more than a month since I've been doing it, I'm getting quicker now. I'm getting into the rhythm, the neuro-linguistic, the neuromuscular coordination has kicked in.
Sure.
So it takes me approximately, it used to take me 30 minutes per post, which is a lot. Because I'm very, very pedantic. I have to check for errors, grammar, commas. Everything needs to be really clear, the spacing. So I used to over and over check over and over and correct it. I used to drain myself, but that's the least I could do. You have to put out quality at the end of the day. But nowadays I'm noticing I'm able to generate posts in about 15 to 20 minutes each.
So if we were to say, even if it was conservatively, 20 minutes on that, I guess, times 5 posts, a post Monday to Friday? Is that how you do it? Monday to Friday, so it's 100 minutes, an hour 40. Do you like to do it in the morning? Is it over lunch? Do you spread it out throughout the day?
So interestingly, what I do is throughout the week, as I get inspiration at the oddest of places, I keep jotting out ideas in a notepad. And over the weekend, I open that page and I think on those ideas and compose posts. And I do it very random. I don't have a set schedule. Sometimes it's about my mood. All I make sure is that I'm not out of mood on those 2 days, Saturday and Sunday.
Cool.
Otherwise, I'm moody. Whether I do it in the morning or evening, that's immaterial. The only discipline I have is it got to happen. That's it.
I like it. I love it. No excuses. So one of the things I wanted to chat with you about today is when we're talking about, Sharan was talking about sort of laying the landscape. Christine was talking about some of the mechanics and digging into a little bit of her sort of thinking behind it and the importance of it. One of the big things that comes up for people I always hear is that they might be scared or be afraid that they might be judged, and that can hold them back, I think, from everything in life, but definitely from sharing on socials. So my question to you is, have you ever been scared or worried or concerned about sharing on social media, and how do you break through that?
100%. I would lie if I say I didn't feel the fear. I would 100% lie. There were so many fears, not one. One of them was, people would say, she's become an expert now. The other one was, the worst one was if I get negative comments in terms of, there will always be people who will disagree with what you're saying. and they would want to say, oh, you're spreading wrong information, and the backlash that would follow. That was one of my biggest fears. Or the other one was, the other fear was no one would engage with my post. Maybe they won't be of good quality or they won't be useful. Definitely face those fears. Now, how I managed it is two things. One, when I was putting my branding out, I made it very clear that these are my experiences and my learnings. I am not an expert. Now, the minute I said that, that heavy burden on my shoulders just lifted. Because everything I put out henceforth can't be contested because it's my learning and it's my experience. The other thing I told myself is, this is the most basic you will ever be. The fact that you're putting in the effort and learning, you will only go up from here. You're starting something. This is the basic, most basic. For anyone who's putting in the effort and learning, there is no way they won't improve. And so that told me that if I don't take this step, there is no way I can reach above where I am. And so that just made me feel like I gotta start, even if I suck. Because if I don't,
I think there's a real humility in that. Sorry to interrupt you, but I think I just want to underline something you said there. That if you put in the effort and you keep practicing, like there's no way you won't improve. Like I think there's a humility in that to say, like, if you start, it's sometimes scary to figure out not what other people will think, but almost what you will think. Like, oh wow, I'm down here. And then if you keep going, you're only going to go up. But sometimes it can feel hard, like, oh, I'm way down there. Even if I'm going up, it doesn't feel like I'm making progress. But you are every single day.
100%. And I just told myself, like what I told myself, if you don't start this, you will never improve. And what I fear the most in my life is regret. I don't want to live a life of regret. I don't mind failing, but regret is not happening.
Yeah. I love it. So in terms of Hi Vintii, I mean, it's an amazing initiative. We're seeing tons of engagement. What are some of the key learnings you've got out of putting out something that, is bright yellow, it pops up on the feed? What are some of your biggest learnings out of creating that?
100%. I started it as an altruistic motive to make myself feel good. But little did I know that I will be touching lives of people I have never, ever met. It's heartwarming when I receive DMs from people saying they resonate with my posts and it helps them. My biggest learning is no matter where you are in life, you can always make a difference. You can always do good in your own little way. You don't have to be Elon Musk. You don't have to be Bill Gates. You can be wherever you are and just start. It's a ripple effect. And this was my biggest learning, just start. I mean, somewhere I have learned to stop fear from holding me back. This experience has given me the confidence to face failure in a way. It might sound very huge, but believe me, I just realized it's not a big deal. We make it a big deal in our head.
Couldn't agree more. To finish off for today, I have a fill in the blank for you, which is very aligned to obviously what we've been talking about. What can people do to overcome fear? To overcome fear, you must what?
Just take one step forward. That's it. Not too many, just one step.
I love it.
And every time you take that one step, it gets better and better. You get stronger. The fear doesn't go away. Your ability to handle it gets stronger and stronger.
I love that. Spot on, Vintii. Amazing as always. Everyone, I would recommend you follow Vintii on LinkedIn, especially in the international student community, but of course not exclusively. Some great stuff coming out with Hi Vintii. And thanks for coming on today.
Thank you so much for having me, Josh. It was a pleasure.
A pleasure. Speak soon. Very nice. Friends, we are halfway through today. I'm loving all the comments that are coming through today. I think we've got a record amount of comments coming in so far. Terry's joining from New York City. Hello there, Terry. Always great to see your work. Someone who's doing awesome stuff. Check out Terry on LinkedIn and across social media if you're not. Man pops up internationally, all around the world, in the oddest and most interesting of places. So definitely give Terry a follow, and of course, all our guests for today. Our fourth guest for today is someone who you might be familiar with, And even if you're not, I'm really excited to introduce you to my friend, Ishani. Hey, Ishani, how you doing?
Hi, Josh. I am so excited to be here. How are you doing?
Very excited to be here with you. I'm doing really, really well. Ishani, I know that you've got a lot happening. You're the founder of InMotion with Ishani. You're the producer of My First Step Ever. You're a graduate of the University of Melbourne with a master's in marketing. You're doing a ton of stuff. I'd love to know and start off with you today. When did you start in this world of marketing and social media? Was it when you started uni? Was it before that? When did this journey start for you?
Very, very good question because it was a very different journey for me. I was never a person who would like to post on social media, given Facebook and Instagram, because I felt that my life is very personal and I really did not want to post things. And for the things I really felt, I was like, what is the point posting when I'm not able to really make a change physically, adding on to things. But I think it all started off when I came to Australia and I started studying at University of Melbourne, and especially last year when I got in contact with you, campus consultancy.
That's too kind.
Yeah, because I clearly remember it was the productivity challenge that really got me into, doing things. And that's when I started posting about myself, about what I really like, what I liked in someone else who has posted something. So that's how the journey started with posting on LinkedIn. I think I found my space in LinkedIn than in Instagram and Facebook. I think it just kind of aligned with my thought process.
Very nice. And do you remember back to some of those first posts when you were starting, when you were trying to create your first posts or getting your first comments or shares or feedback? What was that experience like for you?
Yeah, so honestly, I never shied away from posting anything. In fact, I've always loved performing. I've been a dancer, being on stage and interacting with people. I've loved this interaction. So that was not a fear in my head that how many likes would I get, what will people think. I was really looking out for a specific need or why should I do something? Do I really believe in this? Am I happy doing this? That was what I was really looking at. And I think one day I just left all these thinking behind. I was like, I like this post. I'm going to write about this. It started with actually just liking posts of people who were doing really good, especially women out there and women leaders. I'm so inspired with them, with everyone else as well, not just the women leaders, but yeah. So I started liking their post. At times I used to reshare and just say outstanding. And it did not really mean much because I'm just writing an outstanding, but to me it felt good, and that's where things started from. I really want to share something. I often felt, what is the need of, talking about what you've been doing? For me, it sounded more like, am I boasting about things? But I came across a situation, some people, and then I realized it's really difficult to get yourself out there in the market where there's so many people doing so many good things, and no one's going to come and really voice your opinion or really talk about you, because that's good. So you have to really take on that journey for yourself, and it's only in the good faith of sharing that what contribution you're doing, and people come to know that what you're really passionate about and what you care for. So that if you go with that mindset, you'll more likely be relaxed to write about things that you really want to.
I like that idea of no one can share your voice for you or share your opinions for you. You've got to share it. I'd love to know what advice you might have for someone who is wanting to share or speak to a change that they want to see in the world. For someone who wants to talk about something really important, something they value, something that's close to their heart, what's the role in using, whether it's podcasts like you do, or I know you're a digital agency, what's the role in using that digital space to raise awareness, to create change?
I think the first thing I would say is start with yourself. You should really mean it when you're saying it, because at the end of even during the journey, if you have started on, posting things on social media with a difference that you want to create, if you fall or if you fail during that journey, which you might often, and if you don't have a good intention to, bounce back and go ahead, it will be difficult to continue that journey. So have a good enough reason to start with yourself. If you see in your surrounding that you are able to articulate that, have a discussion, people are really getting involved in that kind of discussion, and you see a bit of the confidence that you build from that, that is a good starting point to be on social media. Because I think for me, even before you want to go on social media, have that environment around you, talking to people, that really gives you a lot of confidence. And then start posting things, be it in a written post or a video or an image or just making graphics. Utilize your talent, your strengths to do what you really want to convey, because that is the best thing to start with.
I love that idea that you've broken down there for people, and especially with someone with a marketing background. You obviously know this, but for others, sometimes maybe they haven't chunked those bits out. You can write a text post. It can be images. It can be like photos. It can be images or graphics. It can be video. It can be audio. So across those different areas, I'd love just to know from you, from what you feel most confident in to maybe least confident, what does that hierarchy look like for you? And I think you just going through this might help people go, oh, actually, no, I do feel more confident in this than this. So where would you say you're most confident in creating content?
It's what we are doing right now, doing a video with
Yep.
people, maybe sharing my views while we are having a discussion, and also podcasting, the voiceover and everything, maybe through stage play or acting. I mean, that is not something on social media, but you can always repurpose things.
Yes.
The least I would say maybe writing a lot. So that is, I think I'm more of a visual person, and I think I've said that time and again everywhere. I love to interact with people and build that relationship, but I am getting better at writing as well, and
Cool.
writing very crisp things and very to the point and concise things. Yeah.
Nice. So it's maybe video at the top, audio, and then like the image-based stuff, and then maybe text lower down.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. And what advice might you have for someone who says, oh, well, I'm actually the opposite of that. Like, I don't know if I really want to do this whole video thing, but, I love writing. I write essays. Maybe I'm an English major or a journalist major. Where could they use those talents on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on blogs? Where could they utilize them?
I think that's lovely if that's your go-to place and your strength, because you can utilize the written skill with writing stories about what you want to share. Storytelling is such a good way of putting things forward, even while it's a video. But if it's in written way, then I think you got it, because you are the champion of words. Then you can actually start with a very bang online if you want to start writing. So I think you're in good space, in fact, in whichever you want to go ahead. So yeah, I think that would be a good start. You can utilize Canva, where everything is already given. Just put your code or something over there. You really don't need to design. So in the entire post, if you feel you want to, bring out something, and if you think visual things work, if that's your worry, then you can utilize that as well.
I love that, especially on the Canva front as well, because you can do quotes. Even if you have no graphic, if you just like to write, you pull out a quote from the article, make it the graphic, and then in the comments below or the text below, you can put it all in. LinkedIn has a great articles feature as well. And obviously some people starting their own websites, writing their own blogs. There's so many different mediums to sort of bring this to life.
Yeah, not to forget the lovely PDFs which Josh and Stephanie put up. Those are amazing ways to learn how you can utilize your written skills and make it in a good format to present it on LinkedIn.
I love it. Thanks, Ishani. Yeah, those are the PDFs feature that you can pull out of Canva is very cool, very handy. And on LinkedIn, at least, people can download them as well. So if you make something in the feed, they can actually pull it off the platform, which is cool. All right, I have one final fill in the blank for you today, Ishani. I want to know for you, what is the importance of getting out of your comfort zone? Getting out of your comfort zone brings what?
The magic of being able to do what you want. I think that's something that I felt. As simple as that.
Getting out of your comfort zone brings the magic to do what you want. Tell me a little bit more about that. How so? If you get out of your comfort zone, how does the magic come in? I agree with you, but I want to know more.
Okay, so for example, like when I started creating podcast, that's not something out of my comfort zone, but the technicality of recording things, editing, and then marketing it. Learning about that has been very it was a very knowledgeable process for me. And when I started doing things on my own schedule and contacting people, it just made me feel so free, liberated, that this is something that I can do. So I think getting out of the comfort zone brings the magic of and the happiness of doing what you want.
I love that. What a great place to end on. Ishani, you're amazing. Thanks so much for sharing and thanks for coming on.
It's an absolute honor. Thank you, Josh, and Stephanie as well for putting this together.
Of course. Thanks, Ishani. See you soon.
See you.
Very nice. 4 out of 6 guests down today. Now, if you're tuning in, you're listening, I'd love to know what you've learned, what you've picked up on, what you'll remember so far from the first 40 minutes of this live session, Coffee with Campus Consultancy. So in the chat, in the comments, I'd love you to pop down what's one quote, one takeaway. Is it the magic that can be brought by doing what you want, sharing your thoughts that Ishani shared, something you got from Vintii, from Christine, from Sharan, or is it your own thought? I'd love to know. If in the comments you let us know, what are you thinking about social media? When can it be used for good? How do you make sure you use it in a healthy and sustainable way? And what's your 2 cents on the power of it to bring positivity into the world? Our 5th guest today I'm going to bring on, and we're going to dig into a little bit deeper around some of the resources that can help you level up your social media game. So without further ado, Tarzon, welcome. How are you?
Hey, Josh. Good, man. How are you going?
Really well. Tarzon, you're a current student in undergrad doing telecommunications. You're the co-founder of a non-profit called Stepping Zone, and you've recently launched a campaign on LinkedIn primarily, but it might be elsewhere. Top Tips with Tarzon. Mate, you're doing a lot and lots is happening. I'd love to start off by chatting with you a little bit about some of the resources. So if people after today say, where can I go? What can help me level up these skills? Are there any resources that helped you?
Yeah, man. I think one of the resources will be campus consultancy itself, because you guys are doing a lot, like, even though I don't want to see the Gmail every time, but every week you share the Gmail and how we could upskill. I think campus consultancy is the one. And I think there's a lot in LinkedIn you could always learn from, like the LinkedIn post. So you could even dig in the morning and in the afternoon, you could learn a lot. But one of the places that I really go for learning is podcast. I love listening to podcasts, your podcast. And even I'm a huge fan of Gary Vee. Like whenever I talk to any person, I say, Gary Vee is that person. Just tune into any podcast of him. If you are overwhelmed by social media, just tune into podcasts. It's a real place,
Very cool. I love it. And you play primarily in the podcast space outside of, and I appreciate it, our campus consultancy one, the Gary Vee podcast. Are there any others that you used to listen to or you've listened to learn certain skills, whether it's social media or other things?
Yes. I actually forgot the name of the guy, but what I do is whenever I follow people like Gary Vee, so there comes suggestion as well. So my primary focus of upskilling will be in sales, marketing, and recruitment, because that's my really passion. So whenever we follow speakers like Gary Vee or even John Lee, there are a lot of people. So there comes suggestion. So we could filter down to those people and see if their content are really, matching with our interest. So we could get a resource from there as well. And I think books are a really great source. But what I did is I couldn't read tons of books. So what I did is I went to the audio form of the books. So the audio books also is a great way to learning.
Really cool. Really cool. Tell us a little bit about, if you would, Tarzon, Top Tip with Tarzon. So what are you doing with that initiative, and what are maybe some of the top tips that you've been thinking about and talking about recently?
Wow. And the funny story is that I actually got that name from your comment that you posted in Jesse's podcast, and I was just having a chat with Jesse the other day, and he said that, why don't you start it now? And I said, okay, let's do it. So the Top Tip with Tarzon is basically a podcast designed for university student and it's any job seeker, So the top tip that I have learned from Vintii as well. So Vintii was my first guest. So what I learned is that academically we could do, really great. We could go to university, do the assignment. But when it comes to the part of being professional, we forget the key thing, to get into the professional stream. Like we all want the job, but what we forget is that it's not about the resume. Even today I posted about as in personal branding, why it is necessary. I think networking is the key. That's the greatest key, like even I've been learning a lot from you. You actually were the person who led me into this world of and letting me know about networking. I think we need to understand the dynamics of the job market. The job market always shifts from hiring top people from this firm to another one. So we need to find out what's happening in the job market. It's not only about applying like the apply button in LinkedIn or just sending the resume. You need to talk to recruiters, make friends with them, and also upskill yourself. And every time you get rejection, I know job seeking journey is never going to be easy as we talk over here. But what we could always do is we could ask feedback from them and improve each time we get rejected. And be patient, like consistently go in the journey.
I love it, mate. One of the things I wanted to dig into a little bit with you, because I know you set nearly a record of anyone I've seen for every day posting on LinkedIn, and the number of days you got up to. But also you networked, you did what you're preaching, you met with people, you had multiple hour conversations, and you shared it. So I'd love to know if anyone's listening in, they're going, wow, that sounds like a lot of work. What's the transfer between those actions and the skills that employers might be looking for?
So the whole concept of networking people is that you learn from people, and it's like whenever you go and talk to people, it's not about like asking for the job, it's about learning and listening to their experiences. I think what you can do is you could listen to people and learn skills about not only about these hard skills. You could always learn about coding, going online and then doing it for like a couple of months, but you couldn't know about how to be resilient until and unless you hear people sharing their story. Like you went to the journey of, like traveling to the country. That's how you came to know about how much of people are resilient, how much of people are facing. That's what made you realize that doing this job is not the thing. I should make a social impact or find my purpose, right? So like what you can do is people nowadays are hiring people. This is a shock to many out there to hear, but it's not about your hard skills. People actually want to know the real you. Who is Josh Fowler? Who is Tarzan behind this resume or that beautiful LinkedIn picture, So what you can do is always network with people and listen to their story and be resilient, like that's what you could transfer those employability skills.
I think it's a great one to highlight too, resilience. I saw someone put a post out this morning today actually saying, I woke up to a record number of rejections in my inbox. I thought it was such a great post, and obviously it's resonating with me, seeing as that's what I'm repeating here, so it almost proves the point. But it was such an interesting post because he was saying, like this is hard, this is the journey, I'm not giving up. And the whole post wasn't blaming the employers. He was just saying, I just need to figure out like what makes me stand out, what are my skills, like what can I do better? And so I think that idea of sort of showing people the journey that you're going on, even the bits that aren't as smooth, the ones that are challenging, obviously on LinkedIn, something like that, you're doing it in a professional way, but you're sharing all parts of it because employers want resilience. And at the top of those skill sets, they want communication, interpersonal skills, teamwork. So whether it's written, verbal, visual communication, those skills matter in the workplace. And if you can convey them by posting on social media in a healthy and sustainable way, it's a great skill to develop.
So true, yeah.
I love it. I wanted to wrap up our little section together, Tarzan, and these 10 minutes, the little intervals go so quickly, but I wanted to wrap up with a fill in the blank from you. And I'm really interested in what you have to say about this one, because I know you've done so many days of learning and listening and networking. Just before I do ask you this, only because I've referred to it twice now, and I would love everyone to hear it. How many days in a row did you post on LinkedIn? What did you get up to?
Oh, so today is day 140.
140?
Yeah, day 140. It's funny, I never knew that the journey, LinkedIn has really blessed me, I would say, that people are really supportive and kind. It's different than any other social media app. And Sharan told one of the key points that I love about is that if you're happy, do it in any social media. If you're not happy, you just gotta leave it. So I think LinkedIn is a place that is actually where people provide you positive, constructive feedback. I started my journey with just knowing nothing where to go. Today I have my podcast and I'm networking with people, and I'm even in this show. I used to listen to this live session. Now I've been invited, so it's all about being real, I would say. That's what I've learned so far.
I love that. Number one, learning all about being real. And if people are looking forward and thinking about their next post, when you go to post number 141, is there anything you ask yourself or say to yourself to make sure it's real, it's authentic, it's genuine?
And I think Vintii covered in this part as well. It's no one can be you. That's what it is all about. That's why you can never copy in LinkedIn contents. That's why would you even do that? Is it because I'm gonna follow you once, or you want to build your network? I think you gotta be real. You gotta be you and share about you. It's okay to share about your personal journey. I saw the other day a gentleman sharing about his son lost. So a guy lost his son because of this mental health issue, and he shared his story of being vulnerable and how he faced that situation and how important mental health is. So I think it is all about being you. You don't need to pretend to be Josh, Father, Tarzan. Just be you. You could be an university student who would never have posted in LinkedIn. Just post about, hey, today is my first LinkedIn post. I just wanted to say hi to you guys. It can be that, I love that. Easy. Start today, It's not that complicated. Going in the journey, you will learn a lot of things. Trust me. I
love that, Tarzan, that post that says, today, this is my first LinkedIn post. I think that's such a cool idea. I'd love to see, if anyone's listening out there and they're like, okay, that's the thing I needed, post it, tag Tarzan, tag myself, tag whoever, and we'll definitely get involved and comment and encourage you. But I love that idea of just calling it out. Hey, this is my first post. Or, you do it. You say, hey, this is post number 140. That's so cool. Tarzan, you're amazing, mate. Good luck on post number 141. And I'll be looking forward to a big celebration when you hit 150.
Thanks, man. Looking forward to it. Thanks for having me. And thank you, Stephanie and Campus Consultancy, for this opportunity, man. Thank you very much.
Our pleasure, mate. Speak soon. Very nice. You heard it there. And if you are listening in today, 5 guests down, 1 left. We've got Grace on the line. I'll bring her on in just a second. If today's the day for your first LinkedIn post, as you've heard, it's a very positive environment. Call it out. Say, hey, this is my first LinkedIn post. I'm not sure about this, but here's what I'm thinking about. Here's what I'm doing today. Here's a question I have. We always say in networking, the best way to come across as interesting is to be interested. Be the most interested person in the room. Ask a question and people will respond and engage. Our final guest for today is Grace. Hey, Grace, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
I'm really, really well. I am really well. I was thinking about introducing you today and we were going through all the amazing things you're doing. I've said this before, but I don't know if I've met I'm nearly 30, Grace, so I can say this. I don't know if I've met a young person. Who does as much as you, who puts their hand up. You're a psychology student, an advocate for mental health, chronic illnesses, invisible illnesses, and the LGBTQIA+ community. You sit on multiple councils, to say the least, supporting community young people. You do so much. So it's a question I've asked a few people today, but how do you find time because I think you do it so well, to share and document your journey, to put a post out and say, hey, today I was here. How do you find time for that? How do you think about
it? First things first, using a calendar. If it's not my calendar, it's not happening.
Yes.
Everything I put in my calendar, it's terrible. And I'm sure all my friends get really annoyed with me, going, hey, I know we want to hang out, but you've got to schedule it. I think it's just finding a little time between things. If I'm having a coffee between classes, I'll just put something on LinkedIn quickly, put something on Facebook quickly. I've got some downtime. It's a good time to reflect as well, to reflect on what I'm doing, what's the purpose of what I'm doing. Very deep, I know. But it's a good time to reflect on what you're doing and why is it important, what could you be doing better, who can you reach out to with it, all that sort of stuff.
That's cool. I really like the way you phrase that too. I do the similar thing. I have this, I use Google Calendar. I have this dark blue color. It means LinkedIn. And I put a little slot in, maybe it's normally like a half an hour slot, but the actual posting takes a couple of minutes. That's easy. But it's the reflection that you sit down and you go, okay, well, I just did this workshop or this live stream. What do I think about that? What worked well? What didn't work well? What did I learn? What could I share? And that reflection time, I think, is really valuable, even if you never post it.
Yeah,
even
absolutely.
That's interesting. Okay, cool. Sometimes I get sent on a tangent here. I'm like, now I'm thinking about this differently. But this is about you. Grace, I'm really interested, and I want to ask you a little bit more today around inspiring people to live happy, healthy lives, but also being really conscious of other people's happy, healthy lives.
Yeah.
You do so much work with so many other people in mind. What are some of the things you found from working in this space? What's the word on the street when it comes to social media in this space? There's positives, but there's also negatives. How do you, this is my 5th question in a row, how do you think people from diverse communities think about social media, and how can they use it in a positive way?
That's a really interesting question and a very multi-layered question.
Of course.
It's difficult because there are so many positives. We're always talking about the positives in the space of how you can connect with people, reach out, provide support, but also the fact, like most young people in my generation, maybe not your generation, Josh, I'm not sure if you grew up with social media. Now I'm just bullying you.
That's funny.
But growing up with social media, there's a lot of negatives as well. We talk a lot about the fact you're constantly bombarded. And it's something I felt in high school, the fact that I'm constantly looking at Instagram, people going to the beach, and I'm like, I'm here studying. I'm here I was studying on my weekend, and you all are having fun. I think we've got to be really careful with how we use social media to reach out to people in the space. We know for a fact, I just came back from a facilitation gig the other day talking to young people in Rockhampton, and we're constantly receiving the feedback that social media just isn't being used adequately by older generations to reach out to people.
That's interesting. Say more about that. What does that mean?
Yeah, so there are so many opportunities out there for young people. And I know most of my opportunities that I've taken up, it's because I've seen it on LinkedIn. And really because I'm gonna embarrass you here. I got a LinkedIn because of the workshop I did with you last year. I was only, how old was I? I was only just 18. I just started my 2nd year of my degree, and we did this workshop together at Griffith University. And I went, I should start using LinkedIn. I'm young, but I really would just want to get ahead as soon as possible. I want to take advantage of my youth. But a lot of people don't use LinkedIn, and that's okay. It's not for everyone, especially if you've got no career plans when you're, 17, 18. But it's traditional social media like Facebook and Instagram that older generations who lead a lot of volunteer groups and organisations aren't utilising properly. We're talking to a young woman, I think her name was Laura, and she works for the Rural Fire Service up in Rockhampton. And she was going, everyone else, I'm the youngest person by a decade. I joined when I was 16, and the next person is 32, and our oldest member is 77. And in the next 10 years, all our members are going to be aging, and we're not going to have any young people. So she's been wanting to get on social media and promote the Rural Fire Service and all the amazing opportunities for growth and training, which is especially in rural areas when there's a lack of jobs and a lack of educational opportunities. But she's just been brushed off and said, nah, why'd we do that? What's the point? Well, that's how you get people. I found so many opportunities just to get involved in my community through Facebook. You sign up to do, a survey for a university research study, and you end up, somehow getting involved in a greater way. So I think a lot of groups really need to think about how they're reaching out to young people, and not just young people, people of any age, and the value that's in it. Are you doing something that's actually going to have value when you reach out?
Wow, that's really interesting. I like that. It's something that's come up a little bit. We've been doing a bit of staff training recently with a bunch of different universities on sort of how they can use LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, and just ways to sort of be in touch. So it's interesting that you're hearing it from the other perspective, saying, we actually want to be communicated through these platforms, but just in a way that relates to us with tangible opportunities, not just buy this new face cream or whatever. Things that are good for our careers and whatnot. That's cool. I like it. Grace, when it comes to your personal use of LinkedIn, LinkedIn's where I see most of it because that's the main socials that I use. When it comes for you posting, do you have any sort of thoughts that run through your mind when you're putting out a piece of content? Is there a certain mindset you bring into it? Any do's or don'ts? What's going on in your mind when you're thinking about, I want to put something great out to the world?
It's very cheesy, but I always think, what value does this have? Is this actually going to be valuable to someone? Will this give someone a eureka moment? Because I do that all the time when I'm scrolling through LinkedIn and I see something and I'm like, do you really have to post that? This doesn't tell me anything. And other times I go, wow, that's amazing. I didn't think of it like that. Or it's really interesting to see what this person's doing. So I always think, what value does this have? whether it's keeping people up to date with what I'm doing. And by keeping people up to date with what I'm getting involved in, it means people can go, oh, Grace is involved in this opportunity. I should reach out to her and see how I can get involved, if our organizations can link up. Oh, I'm doing a really similar project with this other group. We should work together. So there's a value in sharing what you're doing yourself. Can I educate people on something? Does my opinion have some sort of value? Hopefully, yes. That's what I always think about. And I guess for the don'ts, I guess, yeah, if it doesn't have value, if it's not important to someone somehow, why would I post it?
I love it. For someone you mentioned at the start, if you're 17 or 18, you don't necessarily have a career trajectory, whereas it sounds like you do. You don't only have just the trajectory. You're not like pointing the rocket, but you're like fueling the thing and you're doing the work and you're on the journey. You're someone who lives a life that seems like it's so full of purpose and meaning. And really being on the path and doing the work. I'd love to know for you, as a quick fill in the blank to finish today, if someone's looking for purpose, meaning, or a direction in life, what's something that they could do, a step they could take, or something they could think about?
That's such a hard one.
I know.
Question. I'm terrible, and I tell everyone this. I'm terrible because I was one of those weirdos who knew from the age of 12, this is what I'm doing. My parents went, you're not going to do that. And I was stubborn and went, I'm going to do it just to spite you. So it's hard for me to give advice on how to find, what your career opportunity is. But in terms of purpose, as cheesy as it is, what are you good at? What do you enjoy? For me, I spent a lot of my childhood, because I was developmentally delayed, I felt like I wasn't very good at anything. Everyone was good at science or math or English. And I was like, I'm not good at any of these things. But I realized, I like talking to people. I like listening to people. I like helping people. Pretty simple stuff, but what a career is that I can do with that. I felt even in primary school, there's a lot of pressure to find, you had to find a career. And I thought, okay, well, I'm not particularly smart, but I could be some sort of doctor. And what types of doctors are there? And it just went
Only
from there.
You would say, I'm not particularly smart, but what sort of doctor should I be? I would challenge that.
I think it's a lot about passion. And when I say doctor, well, I'm studying psychology now. That's a type of medicine. But there are so many different fields where you can help people. It's all about, I think, figuring out your passions, your skills, and how can you combine them. I think also talking to people as well. The best way to find your purpose is to talk to people. Ask them, what do you do? Why do you love it? I've had the opportunity to meet so many amazing psychologists and mental health researchers and advocates throughout my journey. I think meeting those people really inspired me to go, I've made the right choice. This is definitely the right career path for me. And even, as someone who's pretty set on their career path, I want to be a psychologist, but there's so many different types of psychology. Do I want to go into practical psychology, or do I want to go into research, or do I want to do something else? So even now, I'm still going on that journey of finding what my purpose is by talking to people. Why do you love what you're doing, and how can I take that on board myself?
I love it. Grace, as always, inspiring, hilarious, humble, and you're on a mission, which I adore. Keep it up, my friend, and great chatting with you.
Thanks, Josh. Bye.
Thanks, Grace. Bye. There we are. We've done it. 6 guests talking about how to find your voice on social media. If you're looking to take this to the next level and really level up your skills, you say, okay, Josh, I've been inspired. How do I do it? What do I do from here? We've created a course specifically aimed at leveling up and standing out with confidence on LinkedIn. So the URL's down the bottom, campusconsultancy.thinkific.com. And I thought that today I'd show you a little bit of what that actually looks like in case you're interested and in case you want to be one of the more than 50 students now who's enrolled, going through and completing the course. So what it looks like, standing out with confidence on LinkedIn, you can see one of the pages here if you're interested, if you want to level up your skills. The course is broken down into 3 big areas. The first week is all about your profile optimization. So when people land on your page, even if you don't create content on LinkedIn, people land on your page, they know what you're about. They know your ikigai, what you're good at, what you value, and what you love to do. The second week is all about relationship building. So how do you build those very important networks? We know in Australia that 80% of jobs, 75 to 80% of jobs, data from LinkedIn June 2020, 75 to 80% of jobs are not advertised. That means 2 to 2.5 jobs out of every 10 are even advertised. You'll even see them with your eyeballs. More than half of the jobs in the market are through who you know. So we want to show you exactly in the second week of the program how to do that. And the third week, content confidence, how you can create great content that people see. You'll see from some of the students had a 3 to 4 time increase in the views of their posts, a 10 time increase in reactions. People have had hundreds of people view their profile. And now as we go through this course, it's all online. It's 3 weeks, but it's 24/7. So you can access it whenever you want, at your own time, at your own pace. There are no live sessions that you join into, but it's up there so you can get involved whenever you like. Start anytime, complete at your own pace. You get a certificate of completion, a badge to put on your LinkedIn, and access to a group of people that you can go through the program with. So if you'd like to enroll and like to be part of this, the link down below, and you'll see it in the StreamYard right now, campusconsultancy.thinkific.com, if you would like to stand out with confidence on LinkedIn. And of course, you can use these tips and concepts on other platforms as well. So for today, thank you so much for joining in. We hope you got a lot out of this session. I really appreciate all your time. It's such a valuable resource. So thank you for giving it to us today. In the comments after today, let us know, what was the top thing you got out of this session? Was there a quote, an idea, and also what actions are you going to take? Are you going to take Tarzan's advice and say, this is my first post on LinkedIn, and put it out to the world? Are you creating your podcast, your vodcast? Are you starting to write a blog? What are you doing to share your opinion and your voice with the world? We'd love to know in the comments. Besides that, have an amazing rest of your day. Thank you for joining us, and we'll see you again very soon. Bye-bye.